So one of the big things I look for in equipment is reliability and ease of use. This meets both of those standards exceedingly well. In this video, we are going to be going over the new SHOTKAM Gen 4. There's a lot of updated features compared to the Gen 3, so I've attached chapter markers in this video so you can go to exactly what you're looking for in case you're looking for something specific. To start, we're going to kind of do an unboxing. So it has a nice carrying case, another carrying case inside that has some tools in it, spare parts in case you're like us and you lose things. It comes with a lens wipe, a manual that I recommend learning really well, and in that smaller carrying case that I mentioned previously, you have a charging cable, you have a charging block, and you have the tool to be able to mount the camera onto your barrel. SHOTKAM does an exceptional job of showing you how you can improve your shots, how you're leading your targets, and what you can do better in general. My initial thoughts of the camera are that it is very minimalistic. I was initially worried that hanging something off the end of my barrel would mess me up as far as my mounting goes and my shooting goes. But after a few mounts with it, you don't really notice it. But to get back into the specifics of the camera itself, you have your lens here, of course, on the front. You have your clamp that mounts onto the barrel of your gun. You have this waterproof screw-on seal that can come off. And under that seal, you have your USB-C charging port. You have a button that can change your different modes, which I'll get into here shortly. And then you have two LED lights that will indicate what mode you're in and what the camera is doing at that moment. As far as shooting goes, the camera has essentially two modes. It has normal shooting mode and continuous shooting mode. Normal shooting mode, if you're an upland bird hunter and you're in the field, you're walking for 20 minutes, you're not seeing anything. The camera will go into standby mode and not be recording, and until you bump the stock of your gun. So you're walking through the field and say your dog goes on point, or you know there's a bird up ahead and you feel like you're about to get a shot, you just bump the stock, the camera turns on and starts recording. And then once you shoot the gun, it will save that file. After 30 seconds of the camera not sensing a shot, it will turn off and go back into standby mode to conserve battery. In normal shooting mode, where you have to bump the stock to turn it on, the camera has a battery life of 15 hours, which is an exceptional amount of time. In continuous shooting mode, they say it gets about 2 hours. We filmed our pheasant hunt in continuous mode. It did, I think, a little over 2 hours of filming, which was great for us. I don't know that continuous mode is necessarily the best option for someone who's doing a lot of walking and there's a lot of dead space, because you're just going to drain your battery really fast. The third mode that the camera has is Wi-Fi mode. You can get to Wi-Fi mode by holding the button down for 3 seconds. The camera will send out a signal. You connect to the camera's Wi-Fi. That will then connect to your app. When you go into the app, you can calibrate the camera to your gun. You can change your shooting mode, say if you're hunting big game or ducks or clay shooting. It has specific settings for each of those. It has settings for whether your gun's semi-automatic or break action. You can also see your recordings and watch your shots as it takes place. So say you're pheasant hunting, you shoot a bird and you missed it and you want to know what you did wrong in that moment. You can connect to the camera, watch what you did, and hopefully make some changes to your shooting style that will then lead to more success. Also in the app, they have the user manual, so if you need to relearn any of the settings, you can do that. They have a support center where you can contact them for help or whatever you may need. Now, if you're looking into getting one of these cameras, you might be trying to decide, do I spend my money on the 3rd gen and save a few bucks, or do I ball out and get the 4th gen? Initially off the bat, I would say get the 4th gen. It has exceptionally more features than the 3rd gen, and they made a lot of upgrades to the 4th gen camera. It's pretty much better in every category when you compare it side by side to the 3rd gen. As far as video resolution, 4K at 60 frames per second, 2.7K at 120 frames, 1080, 720, 540, all at 120 frames per second, whereas the 3rd gen only got 1080 at 100 frames per second. So tons of functionality there. As far as field of view goes, obviously more features again. It has ultra wide at 44 degrees, wide at 30 degrees, narrow at 18 degrees, ultra narrow at 11 degrees, whereas Gen 3 had narrow at 18 degrees field of view. Zoom range. The Gen 4 has an adjustable zoom that goes from 2x zoom all the way up to 8x zoom. The Gen 3 had a fixed zoom of 4x. So you only zoomed in 4x and you were stuck with that and that's it. Battery life. Gen 4 in normal shooting mode can get 15 hours. Gen 3 could only top out at 5 hours. So huge leaps there. Charge time. They actually tie in that race. They both take about 3 hours to charge fully. Wi-Fi download speed. So when you're using the app and you want to download some of the video straight to your phone, this will help the speed of that. From the Gen 3 to Gen 4, the speed is doubled from 3 megabytes per second to 6 megabytes per second. And you don't really need much more megabyte per second than that. It goes fairly quickly as long as the clips are short. If you're in the continuous record mode using a high frame rate and high resolution, your phone might have difficulty with that. We noticed that on our pheasant hunt. We were trying to download some of those longer videos to our phone and it was just too much for your phone to handle. As far as weight goes, the Gen 4 is a little bit heavier at 6.5 ounces or 184 grams, whereas the Gen 3 was 5.5 ounces, 156 grams. So again, those are really light numbers in general. You're not going to really notice either of those on the barrel of your gun. So I don't know that that's really that big of a deal. Video format, both are MP4, of course. Water resistant, yes for Gen 4, yes for Gen 3. They both have an IP6 rating, which is nearly as waterproof as it gets. I think it goes up to IP7. Next, I want to talk about calibrating the camera. What you want to do is set your gun up so it will hold perfectly still. If you have a gun vise, that would be really, really helpful for this, or a friend would be helpful for this also, if you have those. So what you're going to do is put your gun in the gun vise, point it at a target that would be about equivalent to the distance away that the bird would be or the target would be, and then go to the app on your phone and go to the calibrate setting of the app. In there you'll get a live view of what the camera is looking at, and it's going to have a little red dot right in the middle of the screen. You want that red dot to be pointing exactly at what the bead of your gun or the crosshairs of your gun are looking at. When we were pheasant hunting the other day, I made the mistake of, one, not calibrating for the equivalent distance that the birds were likely going to flush at, and I also set it a little bit lower than where I thought the target would be, so it's not representing what I'm doing completely right. Now, because I knew I set the red dot a little bit lower than what my bead was pointing at when I was calibrating, I can make that adjustment and kind of see what I was doing was right or wrong when shooting. As far as what guns the camera will fit on, they make a bunch of different clamps. They have 12 gauge, 20 gauge, 28 gauge, and 410, as well as a rail mount. This here is a 16 gauge, and I was able to use a 12 gauge clamp on the gun, and it worked fine. One mistake I made was setting the camera a little too far back, so you see the bottom of the barrel in the shot, which wasn't a big deal. Again, my first time using it, I was nervous of hanging something off the end of my barrel and thinking that would mess me up, but it really wouldn't have. The camera's so light that you don't notice it's there. It doesn't mess you up. Another problem I could see people wondering about is if the camera is going to get snagged on stuff. When we were walking around in the woods, I didn't really notice it. You tend to keep your barrel pointed in a safe direction anyhow, which in return keeps the barrel of the gun away from things, so you weren't really shoving the barrel of the gun into trees or anything like that, and I didn't get snagged up on anything. I don't think Kyle got snagged up on anything, And the thing is built so rugged, even if you did whack it on a tree, nothing's gonna happen to it. And the lens is set back in the frame of the camera, if you can see that. So say you do hit a branch, it's not gonna get the lens is not gonna get scratched. Another thing that I had mentioned earlier was your technology as far as being able to watch or review your footage. I would be careful with continuous mode if you're only going to be using your phone. You're probably gonna need a good computer for that, where you can bring the footage onto the computer and then watch it from there. The phones just aren't powerful enough to be able to handle those long, high quality clips. As soon as you put it in a computer, the computer's not gonna have any problem with it. Whereas if you're using normal shooting mode, where it's only recording the exact moment of the shot, your phone's gonna be able to handle that much easier. You're gonna be able to download it straight to your photo album and do whatever you want with it, or strictly just review it. I know SHOTKAM has a buyback program if you have some of the older models of the SHOTKAMs, Gen 1, 2, and 3. You can turn those in and get a credit to be able to buy the new Gen 4. As far as my final thoughts go on the SHOTKAM, I'm extremely happy with it. For those who don't know, I'm a producer for a television series on the History Channel called The Greenway Outdoors. So I spend a lot of time around cameras. One of the big things I look for in equipment is reliability and ease of use. This meets both of those standards exceedingly well. So if you're gonna look to spend some money on a gun-mounted camera, I would recommend the SHOTKAM. As far as what I've seen from other brands, I don't know that they're meeting the standards of the SHOTKAM quite yet, and I don't know that they'll catch up, just because it seems like SHOTKAM is always outpacing everybody else as far as technology goes on gun-mounted cameras. I hope this review helps. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. And check out some of our other videos. We posted our pheasant hunt using the SHOTKAMs in the post just before this one. And check out our TV show, The Greenway Outdoors. It's on a bunch of different streaming services, and you'll love it.